Six Towns Radio.
Six Towns Radio is going FM. For 28 days starting January the 20th, we'll be on 87.7 FM. Go dig your wireless out now.
On the phones now, we've got Danny Higginbotham. How are you, Danny? All right?
Yeah, good, thank you. Yourself?
Yes, brilliant, thank you. Where are you today? You sound like you're out in the field watching football or something like that? Yeah,
for the first time in a long time, I'm able to actually go and watch my son playing football on a Saturday. So it's nice to be able to spend a bit of time with him now.
How old's the lad then, Danny?
He's 12. He's just playing at Nantwich today. So just went and got myself a coffee, and actually just went and put a bet on a few of the games today, and then just trying to have a normal Saturday, which is something I've not been able to do for a long time.
I bet that's bizarre for you, because that's just a standard way of life for a lot of people.
Yeah, it is. Like I say, it's been the best part of 20 years, and I was making a big decision this week, but I think it's the way I'm feeling now is definitely for the best. I know
you've announced your retirement from the professional game this week, Danny, and I noticed on your Twitter feed you said, or you made a comment about a worry about getting hurt. Is that something really unusual for a professional footballer? Because
certain people are different, but for me, I don't think during my career I was ever the most technically gifted, and it was the fact that when I was playing games, I was always giving 100% and what have you. And then just recently I've been going into the pitch and not been wanting to get hurt, and the minute that starts coming into my head, I know that my days are numbered, and I didn't want to get hurt anymore. I didn't want to put my body on the line anymore, and I was just I think it's just getting to the point where I just had my fill of football, wasn't enjoying anything about it, and everything added up, and it comes to the conclusion that enough was enough for me.
We'll reflect back on your career very shortly, mate, but in terms of next steps, that's you're looking down the media route, aren't you?
Yeah, it's going very well for me. I'm fortunate I found something that gives me the passion that football used to do, which is a very rare thing for lads that finish playing football. So, I'm going to probably have a holiday with my family, and then hopefully come back and get right back into it. And got a few things coming up with the media side of things, which is great. And like I say, hopefully over the next few months I can make an impression with people. And if that's the case, then we can have something that's more regular.
Well, we've seen you make various appearances on Sky, on TalkSport, and that sort of thing, and you seem very knowledgeable, and you're a student of the game. Obviously, it should be a career that should stand you in good stead.
Well, hopefully, I think the one thing that I said, when I first started with it, probably been doing it on and off now for maybe 2-3 years. Was probably the last year has started to get really busy. The one thing I wanted to do, I wanted to have an opinion and be honest with it, and I just want to try and, when I'm doing things, I don't want to be telling people things that they already know. I've been in football for such a long time. I want to be able to give a point of view where people might go, I didn't understand that, but now he's said that, I see where he's coming from, and that's what I want to do. I don't want to be one of these pundits that is, like I say, you know what he's going to say before he says it, or being quite mundane. I don't want that. I want to be like somebody that people want to listen to, somebody that people look at or listen to and think, I want to listen to this lad because he can tell me something that I don't know, tell me something about the game, and that's how I want to do it. And hopefully, the 20-25 years that I've had, football all in, hopefully that can come through and be beneficial in the long run for me.
That's talking about shape, tactics, formation, that side of things, the technical side of the game that traditionally the conventional fan doesn't really understand, do they?
Yeah, definitely. And for me, if I'm going to do it, you've got all different types of people that will watch football, that will listen to football. You've got some that are very, very, very into the football and they understand the ins and the outs of football. But then you're going to get other people that watch football or listen to football that don't know too much about it. So I want to be able to give to them, the knowledge. So when they're watching a game or when they're listening to a game, they can actually enjoy it and actually be like, oh, you know what? I understand more now because I've listened to him. If I me, it's like I'll listen to other sports on the radio or I'll watch other sports on the television. If I haven't got a clue what I'm on about, the commentator or the analysis is vital to me. He's the person that's going to make me see sense. He's the person that's going to make me understand the game. And, and that's what I want to do because football's a great game, but sometimes it does get complicated. So for people that are listening or watching to anything that I'm doing, I want to, You know, I want to make it simpler.
In terms of training and that sort of thing for media, have you done anything formal on that, Danny, or is that just something you're picking up on the way?
Over the last couple of years, you know, the BBC, they use a gentleman called Rob Nothman, who is, you know, he's one of the top. He's one of the top guys, and you know, I've become friends with him, and he's always given me advice on the phone, and I've had a couple of sessions with him as well. And what I found is that you learn from different people all the time. It's like really, you know, bizarre things. Like I did MUTV about 2-3 weeks ago, and I was working with Jim Rosenthal, and what I aim to do every time I've done a show with somebody, I always want to get feedback from, you know, so I'll give them a call a couple of days after and say, listen, you know, give me some pointers, please. You know, you've been in this for a long time. At the end of the day, I'm going back to being an apprentice now in the media world, and I just want to learn as much as I can. So I said to Jim, I was like, you know, can you give me any pointers? And he was like, you know, listen, you're doing very well. He said, but one bit of advice, sit on your jacket. And I was just like, what do you mean? He said, listen, he said, when you're on television, he said, it's so easy to slouch. He said, so you're wearing a suit jacket, put it under your backside and sit on it, and it will automatically make you sit up. And that's something now that I will always remember. But you know what? You would never think of that.
No, you wouldn't, would you? Yeah.
No. So I've been getting advice off. Sorry.
I'm just saying that you could offer, as a pro footballer, you can offer, you know, someone like your son tips coming up. You know, you've got that knowledge. Jim's got the knowledge of media and that sort of things, hasn't he?
Yeah, without a doubt. And for me, if I was to come into you know, this is a new chapter for me. If I was coming into the media world and saying, "Oh, well, I play football, so I'll be great at media," A, I'd be setting myself up for a fall, and B, I'd be being very arrogant. The way I'm looking at it now, this is a new thing for me. I'm now an apprentice. You know, there's all these people that I'm working with, and everybody that I work with has more experience than me. So you know, what knowledge can I get from them? You know, and what I found, and you find it in football as well, is that people that are eager to learn and eager to get better and ask questions, they're appreciated more because, you know, people look at them and think, well, you know what, he isn't trying to do this just to earn a quick bit of money. He's actually trying to learn and do better at this because he wants to better himself and he wants to do as well as he can. And that's what I'm wanting to do. You know, I'm excited about the challenge, and it's going to be a tough challenge, but it's something that, like I say, I've really enjoyed so far. And like in football, I want to be the best that I can be at it, and hopefully with the help with other people and advice, you know, I can give myself the best chance.
I think that's the same in life in general, Danny, to be honest. If you're keen and you want to get on, you're seen to get on, then you tend to do well, don't you? Yeah,
of course you do. You know, I remember someone told me a long time ago, the harder you work, the luckier you get. And you know, it's no coincidence, is it? So, you know, no, it's exciting times for me. You know, I've had 20 years. Wednesday night was an emotional evening for me. You know, my wife and, you know, my kids there, my mum and dad come round and what have you. And it was emotional. My wife's like, you know, what are you doing? You've made a mistake. I was like, no. I said, you know, for me it's emotional. Apart from my mum, my dad and my older brother, football, I've known football longer than I've known anything else. I've known football since I was 5 years of age. 4 or 5 years of age. You know, my dad taking me to games and following United and stuff like that. So it was always the right decision. It was just the fact of, you know, it's an end of an era. And like now looking back, the last 2 years, I don't think I've enjoyed any of it, because when I look back at my career now, I forget about the last 2 years. And I look prior to that, so I look at my Stoke time and things like that, and that's nothing to do with going down in the leagues, because you can still enjoy your football as you're going down in the leagues. But, you know, that tells me a lot, and not the fact that maybe I should have retired early, but it's told me that, you know, the time was definitely right. I'm sure there'll be days when I'm like, oh, you know what, I wish I was playing, but the decision that I've made, you know, the days when I feel better because I'm not playing anymore will outnumber the days where I'm feeling a little bit down.
You must have worked under quite a few managers, Danny. Talk us through some of those and tell us who the best manager was you had, if you can.
Oh, well, you know, Sir Alex Ferguson, it was different with Sir Alex Ferguson, I guess, because I was only a youngster, you know, and he wasn't a manager of mine week to week when I was playing.
Yeah.
You know, he was very, very good with me. You know, I had some problems in Belgium, and he didn't have to, and he came out and he stood in my corner. And, you know, ever since I left the football club, you know, every time I played against United over the years, he's always stood and waited for me and shook my hand and asked me how I was and all that. And, you know, and that's a measure of him as a man. Jim Smith, you know, he signed me at Derby. He was a proper old school manager. You know, after the game, he'd be on the bus on the way back, and the the bus would be filled with cigar smoke and there'd be red wine and what have you, you know. But he was the character, and he was the one that really, you know, put his reputation on the line by buying me from Man United. Then Colin Todd came and replaced him. He was, you know, one of the best defenders that England have had, you know, so I learned a lot of him. You know, he had a short time really at Derby. And then John Gregory, you know, for all the criticism John Gregory's had over the years, I know he's back in management now. He's up there with the top 1 or 2 man managers that I've ever come across in my career. You know, he could make you feel 10 foot tall. And the good thing about him was he simplified everything, and he was great for me at such a young age. Then Gordon Strachan signed me at Southampton, and you see it every week in, week out, you know, whether it's with Scotland or whether he's doing his TV work, he's just a great character, you know, and his bubbliness, his you know, the way he enjoys training really is really affectionate, you know, and it takes everybody in, and he looked after his players really, you know, as well as he could. And I think the biggest compliment that I can give him was that when he left Southampton, that was the beginning of the end of the Premier League days for Southampton. You know, then I think Paul Sturrock coming afterwards, you know, felt sorry for him. Didn't really get to know him that well, but I didn't think he was given that much of an opportunity. And the same with Steve Wigley. Then Harry Redknapp came in. You know, you could see why he was a good manager, but you know, the tide had already turned then, and we were sinking ship.
Yeah.
George Burley didn't really have that much time with him. And then, you know, I come on probably to the most significant manager in my career, which was Tony Pulis. He, you know, he gave me a vision of where he saw Stoke. People questioned me leaving Southampton. You know, I still had a year left at Southampton, but I'd fallen out with them, and people thought I was crazy. And I never forget, you know, driving from Southampton to Stoke, it became common knowledge, and a lot of people ringing me up going, "What are you doing? You're stupid." And I was like, "Listen, you know, you have situations in your career where you sink or swim." And then a few months later, these same people were ringing me up and saying, "Oh, you know what? You made the right decision. It was good that you took that challenge." But you know, Tony Pulis told me what he wanted to do with the club, and you know, I believed most of it, but thought a lot of it was too far fetched. And you know, he was true to his word, and he accomplished everything.
What did he actually tell you then, Danny? What was the chat with you and Tony Pulis? How did that go? And what was his vision?
When I first joined, he told me that I want to get this club to the Premier League. You know, in the next couple of months, I'm going to be bringing players in that you're going to be very, very surprised by, and I want you to be a big part of it. I want you to be the first signing of like a new regime, a new way about things at this football club. And then, you know, for the first few months, it was quiet and things weren't great. And then all of a sudden, you know, you had Andy Griffin, Patrick Berger, Lee Hendry, Selleck Jow, Jonathan Fortune, Liam Lawrence come, Rory Delap come, you know, Ricardo Fuller come. And all of a sudden, you know, I remember when he had the team that he wanted together and he got them together, you know, we went to Leeds and we beat them 4-0.
Yeah, a massive game, yeah. And that's sort of made a lot of Stoke fans stand up and go, hang on, there's something happening here.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, but that was his plan coming to fruition. You know, he had all these ideas of how things were going to be, and you know, he stood by them, and he told everybody what was happening, you know, and he was true to his word. And you know, didn't get promoted that season, but you know, the next season they got promoted, and you know, as I say, the rest is history. And he's got to go down as one, if not the greatest manager in Stoke City's history.
Okay, so you got to Tony Pulis at Stoke, and then you moved on.
Yeah, you know, I think looking back, you know, I have no regrets about my football career whatsoever. You know, I've never been one to do that. You know, make mistakes and things like that. And you know, for me, I went to Sunderland and I had a year there, and I've got some great memories. You know, scoring in, you know, the North East Derby and against Middlesbrough as well, and you know, and against Villa and what have you. And we stayed up. And for me, it was just something that, you know, he was like, for me, it was Premier League football at the end of the day. And, you know, people say, well, you shouldn't just do things like that. But, you know, I was at an age where I wanted to be playing in the Premier League. I've been fortunate enough to play quite a bit there, and I had the opportunity to go. And, you know, I kept in touch with the manager, you know, wishing him well and things like that. And, you know, fortunately for me, he wanted to sign me when they got promoted because, you know, I was as good as going to Wolves, because Wolves had come in for me and what have you. And then, you know, Tony Pulis, as he does the last day of the transfer window, he did the deal. And, you know, I went back to Stoke, and probably I would say the next 2 or 3 years were without doubt, the most enjoyable and most meaningful years of my career.
So, in terms of Sunderland, was that Roy Keane that took you there, or?
Yeah, it was Roy Keane that took me there, and he was very much as a manager as he was as a player. He was very demanding and things like that. And I think the one thing that was probably frustrating for him as a manager was that he was a phenomenal player, and he used to join in on a Thursday with us. Do 11v11, and he stood out head and shoulders.
He should have been playing, yeah.
Yeah, and you look at him, and there's other great players that have gone on into management, and they get frustrated because players that they've got can't do things that they can do. But like I say, Roy Keane was a phenomenal player, and he was just unbelievable. So, that was probably one of the things for him. But at the end of the day, we kept Sunderland in the league, which, when you look at it, how many teams do go straight back down, and the problems that Sunderland have had since, you can't really say anything bad about that situation.
No, certainly. So you come back to Stoke. There was the best 2 or 3 years, you say, and that was pretty much no one expected Stoke to stay up in that first season, did they?
No, they didn't. But that's what we used to our advantage. We sort of really got a siege mentality going, and that was what was important to us. We thought that everybody, wanted us to fail, and that's the way Tony Pulis went about it. And when the big clubs come to the Britannia, and the first 2 years in the Premier League, especially the atmosphere, that is something that I could go and watch 1,000 games, from now until whenever, and I'll never ever come across an atmosphere like that. It was something that even after playing at home 20, 30 times, you'd still get that buzz when you walked out of the tunnel, because the atmosphere was just phenomenal.
I know Pulis sort of got the team with the siege mentality. I think he also got the fans on that side, didn't he? And the hate that would come to opposition players, you'd see players shrink, wouldn't you? On the pitch, because they aren't used to that sort of thing.
What he did, he united everybody.
Yeah.
United the team and the supporters as one. And by him doing that, like you say, he just made it a stronger outfit. And you see he's doing the same at Crystal Palace now.
Yeah, definitely.
And what I thought he was very good at as well was, by and large, he would sign a player more of a character than so much ability. And he got such a good team spirit. It was brilliant, and it was such a pleasure to play for that team in that area. And the way I look at it is that a lot of them players are still very good friends of mine. So it tells you how close we all were.
A lot is said about the strength of the dressing room in that era, and I know Tony Pulis talked highly of you, the likes of Rory, and people like that are saying, you're the main characters in that dressing room. Just tell us a couple of tales from them days, if you don't mind.
Well, it was just a case of nobody was immune to it. Everybody. There was so many different people. There was so many different people that weren't. How can you put it? Usually sometimes in a dressing room you'll have players that you can't take the mick out, things like that. But that dressing room wasn't like that. So there'd be all different things going on. You'd walk in one day and someone might have been, done something to your shoes, done something to change. I used to do it with Liam Lawrence all the time. Like, he used to sit next to me, and every day without fail, he'd take his watch off, put it in his shoes, and I'd take his watch off, put it in his shoes. Sorry, he would take his watch off, put it in his shoes. I'd take it out, change the time, and put it back. So he'd put in his watch, and he'd be going home, and he'd be thinking it was an hour later than what it was, and just stupid things like that. And then he'd end up doing something to me, and it was just, it's just how it was, and the banter and the togetherness of everybody just, made it so good.
Rick seemed a different character. Rick seemed sort of Rick Fuller. Just seemed sort of, I don't know. What was he like in that dressing room? And famously, he did that. Pulis got him to do that semi-final speech, didn't he?
Yeah, no, Ricardo, like I say, the way Ricardo was, he could be hot-headed at times. That was him, But amongst the dressing room, he was another one. He would take the mick out of people, and people take the mick out of him, and that was the beauty of it. Nobody was immune for it, and everybody was respected because of that, because everyone could take the mick out of each other, and that's what we wanted.
Yeah.
And that was really good.
And just moving on from Stoke, I know you've sort of ended your career with Chester City. What happened after Stoke, Danny? Just finish the journey for us, if you don't mind.
Obviously, I went to Sheffield United and what have you, and because I wanted to play, for a few more years, and things just didn't work out. And it's like, after Sheffield United, I probably had enough of the full-time side of things. I had a year left, but I was done and dusted, as in terms of full-time football. And I went to Chester to try and get a little bit back, and, played 18, 20 games, and it was good, real good set of lads and what have you. And then, my media was getting busier, so for me to go to Altrincham, I just thought, right, I can kill two birds with one stone. It's a place that I said I wanted to end my career. Maybe I can go there, help and get promoted, and it makes life easier for the media side of things. And, at the end of the day, the fantasy was better than the reality. And I never meant it to be like that, but, I played 2 games, and after the Gainsborough game, away at Gainsborough, I come home and I'm just like, I was questioning everything. What was I doing? And at the end of the day, for me, forget the financial side. When effort starts becoming, when you're giving more effort than the reward you're getting out of it, and like I said, that's nothing to do with the finances, then it's time to call it a day, because football is something that you should love. And, for the last years, I wasn't enjoying training, wasn't enjoying the games. I just wanted to get home after the game and be with my family and, do anything other than football.
Yeah,
and, the time was right for me. I could have stayed there till the end of the season, and, that would have been letting myself down, letting other people down, and just taking money that I didn't deserve. And, it wouldn't have been fair to my teammates or anything like that, or like say, or the club or anything. And I would have just become more and more and more disillusioned, and I just didn't want to do that.
Well, I think you've seen your mate do a similar sort of thing at Burton, haven't we, Rory?
Yeah.
He sort of got an injury. He could have dragged that out and probably still being paid now and that sort of thing, but he didn't want to bleed the club or anything like that. He wasn't on a great salary there, I know, but to a club like that sort of thing, they can move on, and if he can move out the side and that sort of thing. Does that sum Rory up as a character?
Oh God, yeah, flipping it. Rory is one of the best, nicest lads you could ever wish to meet in your life, and I'm fortunate that I get to call him a good friend. I've played at many different football clubs with him, and we've been through a lot of ups and downs with him at different clubs with injuries and things like that. And I'd do anything for him. He's one of the nicest lads you'll ever wish to meet. And like I say, he'd do anything for anybody. And say I've got, there's not enough words that you can say about how good a person he is. Simple as that. Okay.
Advice for young players then. I mean, your lads out there now, and you've been through a lot as a young player. I know you had a challenge in Belgium, which you were back for through Man United and things like that. Advice for a young player then starting out, Danny, someone that's, in an academy now. What would you say to tell them to do?
Just to enjoy it. My lad was at Crewe from the age of, I think, something like 6 till he was 11. And the thing for me is that, as a youngster, you just enjoy your football, because, people say you love your professional football, which you do, but the pressures become as you get older. So, enjoy football. Don't look at it as something, I'm going to do this for a living. Enjoy it, and if anything comes from it, then great. But, enjoy your football, work hard at it, but, be a kid. I think that's the biggest thing now, I think a lot of times in football now, and it's not the academy's fault, but, a lot of times now you look at football and so many people are missing out on their childhood because, they can't do this or they can't do that, or, the different things that they want to do. And that for me is something that, like, I look at my son now, and he was at Crewe Academy, and he was upset when he was released and what have you now, but now he plays on a Wednesday and a Saturday with his mates, and he has to be a kid. And, it's all well and good if you make it, but if you don't, it's tough. So, like I say, just enjoy your football, and if you're in an academy, it is what it is. It's a long way to go before anything can happen in football and what have you. So just enjoy everything and enjoy being a kid. But, if you're playing football, make sure you're doing it because you enjoy it and you love it.
For the right reasons, yeah. Danny, we talked about your media career earlier and formal training. We've got someone else in the studio, Phillipa, who's actually a media student based at Staffordshire University, studying journalism down there and doing a very good job too. Big Stoke fan, and would like to ask you a few questions as well, Danny. So
no problem.
I'll pass you over to Phillipa if that's okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, no problem.
Thanks. I've just got a few that I wanted to ask. In terms of the fact that you want to go into media and that sort of thing. Is it the Gary Neville approach that you're going to go for, where he's like, because he picks games apart? I mean, I still sit there in awe at, you'll watch a goal and the way that he can just show you that they've done it on the training ground it's just different, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think that would be the way. I don't want to be one that becomes popular through, how can I put it, through criticism and shock tactics, if that makes sense. I don't want to be one that does that. I want to be one that where, anybody that's listening or watching looks and goes, oh, you know what, he knows what he's talking about, and he's just told me something that I didn't know. And that's what I want to do. I want to be able to give people things that they don't know, just to simplify things. And I say Gary Neville is a prime example. He's very, very good at it, and I'm learning all the time, and that's what I want to do. So if I'm doing something on the radio, I want to be able to paint a picture for people that are listening that aren't watching on the television, because I think that's very, very important, and that's my aim for it all, definitely.
Yeah, I think the reason his is he's so good at it, and now obviously Jamie Carragher's joined him as well, is because of how long he's been in football and the people he's been around. So I think obviously with you having the 20 plus years in football, that's going to help you to be behind, because obviously you've been in them training sessions and that sort of thing, so you know what they're going to be thinking.
Yeah, definitely. But I would also say that, for me, like what I've started doing recently as well, which people have advised me to do is, buying newspapers that I've never bought before, and reading certain columnists, reading certain things that they're saying, because you know what, you can knowledge from that, and then you can put your side of the story with that, or you can add to that, and it's important. I've started like some different books, that I'm looking at getting and things like that, because the more knowledge that you can get, the better it'll be, and the more you can learn, the better as well. It's all well and good, like you say, you've played football and what have you, so that gives you a great start. But I think, if you look around, there's a lot of people, like I say, like columnist people that write things and are very good. And I think reading their things and their theories and stuff like that, not only can it give you advice, but it can also cause an alter argument that you can have, where you might say, well, no, I don't agree with that, and this is why I don't agree with it, and things like that. So I think like you say, it's the knowledge that I've got, but also, I want to get more.
You do have, is it like a weekly column in the Sentinel that I think I have read a few times? Yeah,
I do. I have a weekly column in the Sentinel. I'm just starting, as of 2 weeks, I'm starting doing one for the Manchester Evening News as well, which is good and something I'm looking forward to, because I enjoy my writing as well. And I just want to have a mixed bag, really. I don't want to be, just pigeonholed. So, this is what he's good at. I want people to turn around and go, well, you know what, he can do a little bit of everything. That's what I want to do, because there's so many different things out there in the media, and unfortunately at this moment in time I've tried so many different ones and I've enjoyed them all. I would say that the only ones that I wouldn't really find great for me is the ones which is all about, which is weird, because I was a laugher and a joker in football. I like to look at the more serious side of things, like I say, the tax side. I don't want to be one of these ones which is, just talking about what did you have to eat here, and what was this and what was that. I want to do things seriously, and that's how I want to be taken.
Yeah. Just coming back out of that, I've just got a few questions to ask as a fan. The West Ham goal, is that up there as like your favourite?
Oh yeah, definitely. It was a goal. Got us to Wembley at the time, and for me it was a special goal because of the meaning of it more than anything. And it's something that I always remember, and I've got photos of in my house, and that's it. It was a real special moment for me.
And the two spells at Stoke, was it just the challenge that brought you back the second time?
No, it wasn't. It was because I loved it so much the first time, and I felt so. It was like it felt like my home. And footballers will tell you, when you find somewhere that feels like your home, it enables you to perform out well. At your best. I feel as though I had an affiliation with the fans, with the area, with the manager, just with the club and everything. So no, the challenge is always there, but it wasn't mainly because of that. It was, like I say, mainly because of the simple fact of that I felt that was where I belonged.
Okay, Danny, thank you for taking the time to speak to us this morning.
No problem.
Hopefully your lad's enjoying his football, as you did, and wishing you all the best in your media career. Yeah, thanks again, mate, and we'll speak to you soon, no doubt.
Cheers, take care.
Okay, cheers, Danny.
Bye. Bye.
Six Sounds Radio.
Six Towns Radio is going FM. For 28 days starting January the 20th, we'll be on 87.7 FM. Go dig your wireless out now.